Well, hello to all my friends out there on the internet. This is Docky. I'm coming at you another lovely Monday, this one the 23rd of September 2019. It struck me I forgot to say the date last week. Last week was 16th, this week is the 23rd. And I'm always starting out with my finished minis, and the first things I want to show you are this Malifaux crew. This is Lucius's Guild Elite. Which I have painted up. Now, Lucius himself is kind of subtle in the highlighting and shading of his pants and his coat. It's not, you see, it's shaded, but it's not, and it's highlighted, but it's not overdone. However, on the actual guardsman, I went with a sort of dark blue gray for the coats, and I wanted that not to look too grayish and black, so I actually popped up the highlights quite a lot on these. A lot of edge highlights on the creases, and also there's a satin varnish on it, so it looks kind of like leather, hopefully. This is the guard captain, by the way. Here's the normal guardsman or guardswoman, with a lot of straps and stuff on her. And this is the librarian. And I followed the color scheme on the box art pretty closely. Not exactly. A few slight modifications and tweaks, especially on Ryle here. I changed quite a lot on him because he was just sort of monochromatic in that picture, and I wanted some more different colors on him. So, yeah. I decided that the stuff on the back of his head here, the strands should be cables, they're not hair. The cables running, you see, from down in the neck up into the helmet. Probably. And yeah, it looks suitably gross and effective. Hopefully. And that's them. But that was actually not all I finished this week. Did a few more things. The other thing I completed was this ogre from Heresy Miniatures. He looks a bit grotty right now, perhaps. In this light, it's difficult to tell, but I painted him like... I tend to paint ogres as kind of pale and pasty. And in this case he has pale colored pants, darker leather belt and pouches, and an axe that's kind of very dark and has some blood on it. And I decided to paint some blood on his finger. I was wondering, why is he showing like one finger like that? And I thought, well, maybe he dipped it in his victim's blood, and he was like, maybe he just licked it or something. Maybe I should have put some blood on his lips as well. That would have been gross. Oh, and the base was just plain cobblestone, so to liven that up a little bit, I added some leaves, some dead old leaves. I thought that would be a nice effect. Oops. I think the blood effect will be shown more clearly when I take pictures in the light box. Now, these minis on my table here are the ones that I honestly really thought that I would finish by today, but things get in the way, you know, life. Now, as for the ladies here in the back, I've worked on their thongs and their hair. So the idea here is I'm going to have, because these are identical, I painted one with dark hair and one with light hair, and then I'm going to do the skin the opposite. So the dark-haired one is going to have pale skin, and the pale-haired one is going to have dark skin. And here, as I said, I went with a sort of artificial-looking hair color for the one here, a bright red. She has blue boots. It's just the skin left. And here I've painted the hair a more natural, some sort of dark blonde color. And it's just the skin and the base, of course. So not that many hours of work, but you know, it needs to be done carefully. As for this lady, I've actually finished, I think, the skin and the wings. Now, they are sort of similar in color, not exactly the same, slightly different hues. I also painted the face a little bit, eyes and lips. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the lips are too red. I'll see what it looks like when I play this back. Anyway, so the only part left on the DVD is her armor, which Jessica shows in NMM, non-metallic metal, and I've decided I'm not going to do that. I'm going to finish up the armor and the clothing and the staff, or scepter, or mace, or whatever you want to call it, just in my own way, and then call this done. So, yeah, hopefully I can finally put this project to rest next Monday. Now here's a bunch more stuff that has had a little bit more paint put on them. Not a lot, some very preliminary base coats on some of them. And here in the front we have the new minis, the ones that I prepped in order to take to the store to paint tonight. They are 3 bombshell babes, bombshell miniatures. This sword is a little wonky, but oh well. And as per usual, I cut off the tabs and I put them on MicroArt's resin basis, scenic basis, to help them along a little bit. Let's see where the focus lies. Is it here or somewhere? And it's just basic tan primer sprayed from my airbrush from Vallejo. Now, the one that I want to direct your attention to, or rather direct your attention to how much you should not direct your attention to it, is this miniature. Hopefully you don't notice, but there's something weird about her right arm. It's too short. This is because this is not the original arm. In the original miniature, she's supposed to be holding a sword with 2 hands, and it comes in 2 pieces, a sword with 2 hands on it. It's cut off the wrist, so this arm is part of the miniature, and then there's a crook of an arm. This arm is not part of the miniature at all. There's a crook of an arm to attach to the other hand on the sword. And there was no way to make that fit. The physics of it were just impossible. It was not going to happen. Either one or both of the hands were always going to be misaligned, no matter how I placed the sword and the arm. So I threw those in the trash, and I went through my bits box, and I found a perfect sword with a left hand on it. And I found a right arm that was sort of okay. See, the weird thing is, if you measure the left arm from the shoulder to elbow and then elbow to wrist, that is shoulder to wrist, it's about 10 millimeters. This arm from shoulder to wrist is 7 millimeters, so it's too short. And also it doesn't have the bracer on the forearm that the left arm has. Hopefully people won't think about it too hard when they see the miniature. I mean, I could have sculpted a few more millimeters on there, but it would have been so much work for so little gain. Let's just say she has a stunted right arm, and that's why she's a lefty. That's why she learned how to fence with her left hand. We'll have to see what it looks like when it's... And now's the time in the video when we come to the subject of new projects. So, next week is going to be the 30th of September when I post my episode, and after that, pretty soon after that, October will start. And I have this tradition of October being sort of, in my painting, being defined by the end of October, which is Halloween. So I tend to focus on miniatures that have a kind of a spooky or scary theme. And to that end, I'm returning to the part of the Bones 4 Kickstarter core set that I had skipped over previously. This is the Graveyard. and it is a collection of pieces. Some of them are scenery pieces. There's this sarcophagus. There's another sarcophagus. There's a statue. And then there's some minis that are undead in some way. I think this is a vampire. And here we have, well, I guess a mummy. And another mummy. Another vampire. A sort of Frankenstein's monster thing. This is a ghoul, I think. I recognize some of these as being previously available in metal from Reaper. Not all of them. Some of them I don't believe I've seen before. I'm not sure. Not sure what this is. Is this Frankenstein's bride? I'm not sure. Another ghoul. And so yeah, to get ready for October, I want to start prepping these minis. And there's a bunch of them. There's a lot of these. It's 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. That's a lot to add into the queue, but it will take more than 1 week to finish them, probably. But we'll just have to see. I mean, sometimes the scenery pieces I sometimes knock out really quickly. So I don't know. But it's my intention to get started on these. And you'll see them at least a bit further along next week. Look at this big box of minis. This is my order from Reaper for September. And up top we have the promotional mini for September, which is a female rogue named Dashell, who has a cloak and a kind of a grappling hook and a rope. And there's a bunch of other stuff. I don't know if I want to unpack all of it right now. There's a harpy. There's actually 3 copies of the harpy. There's a dire bear. There's the dire bear. There is a Pathfinder mini called the Stag Lord. And there's various metal minis which are rogues and bandits. That's about it. There's a total of, I believe, and there's also a plant monster. There's 15 minis in here. So I'm buying too much. I should stop buying stuff, but you know, just paint the stuff I have. But I could not resist because this is intended. All of this is for one of my upcoming role-playing campaign projects, the Kingmaker project. The Stag Lord is the main villain in the first episode of the Kingmaker campaign. So, yeah. I mean, but there's no real hurry to get through these, because I'm not starting that campaign anytime soon. And also, the thing is, they don't fit into the spooky October theme, like, at all. So, they arrived somewhat unfortunately. I mean, if they'd gotten here a week earlier, I would have had them prepped by now. I would have gotten started right away on them. And so there's 2 principles colliding here. I've been trying to abide by this principle of prepping new stuff as soon as it arrives, so it doesn't just add on to the pile. But on the other hand, I also have the principle of only ghosts and ghouls and spooks and stuff, scary stuff in October. And yeah, so I'm gonna have to put these away until November, unfortunately. But they are next in line after that. As soon as November rolls around, these will be the first thing I sort of dig into. Promise, and you can keep me to that promise. Remind me if I forget. So. That was a jam-packed episode, I hope. you liked it. Click like if you did, subscribe if you haven't done so already, comment on the video if you had something that particularly interested you, and join me again here a week from now, approximately. Same channel, same subject matter, same Dakian, just rambling on as always. But for now, I'm signing off.